You know, it might not have a lot of depth. It might just be one of those things that people do off the hand without thinking about the repercussion at the end of the day. It's just a matter of whatever he... And another thing, some insightful statement, Janice. Whatever he means by some people have been looking for my trouble.
Exactly.
And, you know, going henceforth, I'll be coming, you know,
Coming
ready
at
for
them,
you know, those kinds of things. Well, we do hope that the Intelligence Bureau will be able to do the questioning and, you know, look at all the ends to these. And I know that pretty much we would be expecting an apology from the church to the society at this time. You know, we should be careful that we do not have the church misrepresenting, you know, itself in the society, and people do not begin to have excuses, because there's a tendency for you to say, oh, if a pastor, you know, brought a gun to the church, what stops a member from doing the same thing? You know, these are role models in the society, and they need to think through the things that they do, no matter how trivial it may come off in some sense. But this was really, in some sense, uncalled for.
Yeah, definitely uncalled for. Just like you said, you know, the reason for wielding that gun in church might not really be too deep. Okay, it might not really be too deep. Maybe we would say that it's just for the paparazzi of the moment, but again, it sends a very wrong signal. Yes, it sends a very wrong signal to church members. It sends a very wrong signal to the society. And like I said, already the economy, or rather the country, is heated up already. We have just 11 days to the general elections, and we see a pastor wielding a gun in church. So it might just instigate a lot of meanings to it. But at the end of the day, we hope that the investigation will also yield, you know, will be fruitful. We'll also know exactly why he decided, you know, to use the gun. But like you said, House on the Rock Church is a very, would I say, influential church?
Very influential
with,
church,
with their founder, that is Paula De Farasin. We all know him as somebody, a perfect gentleman. So obviously the church will be giving us some kinds of apology very soon.
I'm sure to expect that.
Maybe also penalize this particular pastor for taking that kind of action as well. Yes,
we sure would expect some disciplinary measures from you know, the House on the Rock family also. I know it's a very structured system that they run as a church, so we expect that there's going to be some forewarning going out there to the pastor. But we would, you know, some people that didn't take that down well in church would apologize for, you know, how this came off. And thankfully the security systems and forces have, you know, waded into the matter. Let's see how deep or not how deep. You know, at this time too, people will also wonder what the penalty for this is going to be. Maybe a fine or some kind of reprimand or the likes. But it's good also to serve as a forewarning of people who just, you know, do funny things. You know, I just believe this was something he absolutely did not think through, just spur of the moment. And most of the blame really can go to the policeman that handed his rifle.
Exactly.
And we already see that move and recommendation for him to be even taken out of the force, you know.
But let's even talk about, you know, the recommendation to take him off from the force. Is that not too stringent a measure to be given at this particular time? Is it just everything that happens that, you know, you begin to dismiss somebody? There are other penalties you could actually give to that particular policeman, and not just to dismiss him totally from service. Let's not forget, he's a breadwinner of his family, you know. So if you take him off his job, what do you intend him to do moving forward? He could also go into crime.
Well, that would also depend on what the consequences for such crimes are within the Constitution of, you know, the force. You know, what are the penalties already laid down for such kinds of offenses? And then if there is none, then we might have that argument of, okay, do we think that taking out of the force is a little too much? But at the end of the day, we trust that even the disciplinary forum in the Nigeria Police Force should be able to think it through. It's not any haphazard, you know, oh, because you've done this, take a sledgehammer. We believe that there are disciplinary measures and forums that sit down to say, okay, with this kind of offense, this is the kind of penalty you should be receiving. Nothing overboard, but then there needs to be something done to serve as a deterrent for any other person.
Definitely. But let's see how Nigerians are reacting to this. Obviously, there are lots of reactions on the street of Twitter as regards to this particular issue. Adamu Garba is one person that jumped on this, and let's see his reaction. Let's take his tweet now.
Okay, so this is Adamu Garba too. Where did he get the gun? Who licensed him? I thought we have an exclusive order from the president on those who are cited carrying AK-47. Why would these terrorists be allowed to carry gun in front of peaceful congregants? How can this man bear combative firearms as a civilian? That's the main question, actually. It's the fault of who gave him access to it in the first place.
Yeah,
all right,
definitely.
let's take another tweet.
Anyways, I know that lots of Nigerians will be reacting to this particular issue, and Adamu Gabar is not just, you know, the only person that has reacted. We'll look at more tweets. I'll just take this one. This one says, I do not condone Pastor Uche Aigbe carrying an AK-47 to the pulpit, but seeing all the bigots in the north who supports the lynching of a 21-year-old Deborah complain is amusing. Okay, have you considered that he might be carrying it to protect himself from well, okay, so that's a little bit too much, but these are the kinds of conversations that will brew up.
Yeah, but if you already have police detail in church, you know, that even gave you access to the, you know, rifle in the first place, why not just, even if you feel like you're, you know, under any kind of threat, why not just trust the police detail there in church? Why not say, okay, I have received a threat in so kind of order. I would like that the police presence in church be beefed up and you be more sensitive to the environment just in case something happened, you know. That would be an alternative for, you know, as against carrying a rifle in church. It just doesn't sit. The, you know, the environment for which this has been carried out is not healthy. It's not right. You can't really tally having a gun in church and all of those kinds of things. So I think that it's
outrightly wrong. But the point now is that it's going to elicit different reactions from people, just like we've started seeing, you know, on the streets of Twitter. Some people just think that it's okay to do that, okay, based on the whole insecurity that we're having in the country. It's okay to do that. After all, I think we remember also there was a particular northern governor that said, I think that was Bello Matawale, now of Zamfara State, that said, look, let's people, you know, carry arms to protect themselves against bandits and terrorists in those areas. So some people, this kinds of actions, you know, why I condemn it totally and why a lot of Nigerians will condemn it readily is that it is going to instigate other reactions, you know, like just this particular tweet we just took now. For some people, it's okay. So if he's not allowed to, why do we have, you know, other people brandish guns? Somebody was saying, as somebody like Asari Dokubo brandished a gun at some point in time. So why didn't Nigerians drag him for that? So we have a situation
there's
where
also going to be that religious sensitivity inside all of this. You're making all this noise because he's a pastor.
Exactly.
You're making all this noise because it's related to the church. Now that's also going to come up, and that continues to drag the divisive lines upon which we work as a country, and that is actually unhealthy. We know that there is a tendency for extremes when we come to these kinds of situations. The people who are going to be against this might drag it to the very extreme, and those who are like, oh, you can't talk to, you know, a Christian like that, you can't talk to a pastor like that, there's also going to be the extreme. But at this point, what we can trust to bring a balance is the rule of law and the constitution that governs the Nigeria Police Force at this time.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hang that conversation there for now and move to our second conversation. Obviously, 11 days to the general elections and a lot of things happening. I think it's more like trouble for the Labour Party and the presidential candidates, as we see that a particular structure in Southwest has been collapsed, and you know, members of the Labour Party joined with the All Progressives Party, All Progressives Congress. Now, 2 weeks before the presidential election, controversy has hit the Labour Party in the Southwest as its leaders announced the collapse of its entire structure in the region into the All Progressives Congress. Now, the party leaders also declared support for the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and also the Ondo state capital. Yesterday, the Southwest chairman of the Labour Party, Mr. Motosho Banji, said their journey into the APC was facilitated by the national coordinator of the Southwest Agenda for Asiwaju Tinubu 2023, Dr. Dayo Adeyeye, and other members of the group. But the Ondo State Chairman of the Labour Party, Mrs. Remilekun Ojo, dismissed the collapse of the party structure, saying the event was attended by a few dozen people who claimed to be the Southwest chapter of the party. However, Motoshaw, who led the party leadership to collapse its structure, said the leaders of Labour Party decided to quit the party because it was not viable and lacked the clout to win the forthcoming general elections. Well, yeah, serious issues here and trouble for the Labour Party, I must say. Just 11 days to the elections and we are having a lot of people collapsing structure. Now, this is the same structure that was said on the onset, you know, that Labour Party does not have, and the same structure they've been able to build for the past couple of months since, you know, the inception of the emergence now of Peter Obi as the Labour Party presidential candidate has been collapsed in Southwest. I know that when you talk about politics in Nigeria, one thing that comes to mind is lobbying. So there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of, yes, on the ground activities in terms of lobbying people, you know, to
trying to get them on the side,
you know, to come to their own side and all of that. But it's a sad story. It's a sad story for the Labour Party at this moment, them losing, you know, a basic structure in Southwest.
Losing a basic structure, I think this conversation can even go different ways, because when you also see that we already have one of the stakeholders in the Ondo Labour Party coming out to say, oh, this was not actually a case of, you know, collapsing our structure into the APC. It's just some faction of the Labour Party in Ondo State coming out to do this. We can already see, okay, maybe there was a brewing controversy in the Ondo chapter of Labour Party, and we might just see that it's not the entire structure of the state, as it were, just a sect, a number of persons who believe that at this time their ideologies do not match what the Labour Party stands to represent, and maybe also, I mean, we must not take out money, the place of money and conscience buying ambition, you know, in all of this. What if the APC has offered them more, you know, in quote, than the Labour Party seems to be offering them? We talk about politics in Nigeria in such a situation that if it's not working for you in this party, if this party is not, you know, conceding to your ambition, as it were, you just look for the next party that looks like it has the body language in support of what you want to pursue. So this might just be the case at this particular place. And it's funny that we had this conversation about Sokoto State just a couple of days back, when we had people leaving the People's Democratic Party now to the APC again in Sokoto State in support of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So you're wondering, what is the final day catch with the APC? Yeah, why are people beginning
It could also imply that the APC, they are doing their job properly. You know,
when we say doing their job, what kind of job? Because remember, a couple of months ago, we had conversations where it was more like we had the APC poaching people from other political parties to come into their party. You know, we had a conversation about the fact that we're even reaching out to other political parties, presidential candidates of other smaller parties in quote, to collapse their systems in support of the APC and I think even the PDP at the time. So these are conversations that they probably had been having for the longest times, and you know, some days to the general election now, we are beginning to see yield some result. We're having people make last-minute resolutions. This poaching that was brought to us, that was pitched at us, okay, we think we should buy into it. And so the other conversations now are, how are these exodus, you know, how is this exodus affecting the parties that they have left? What kind of, you know, gaping hole is it creating in Labour Party, for instance? And is this going to deter the people? Now, when I saw this particular story, I was thinking, in line with Reno Mokri's statement yesterday, when he brought about that footage of this drone shot, showing just a small number of people at the campaign in Lagos, where it was called a mega rally. You're saying, okay, this is not a mega rally. The numbers we have on ground here cannot be termed a mega rally. Then you now see that in Onto, out of the small sector of people that we're even using to push, you're seeing that people that are meant to be like stakeholders are leaving. So it really brings you to sit back and think, what is the hope of the Labour Party party in the forthcoming elections?
True to type, it's cause for concern, because at this moment we just have a few days to the election and we're seeing this massive exodus of people. But it still brings to mind the fact that, you know, when we talk about structure in the political system, it means that you have like foot soldiers in maybe every community, every local government, you know, that will go about talking to people. I think I don't remember if I shared with you. I received a call from somebody and they were like, okay, so this particular candidate, do you know him? I was like, yes, I do know him from my state. And okay, so he says we should check up on you. I was like, oh wow, that's wonderful, you know. And then also let you know that you're supposed to please vote for him when time for election comes. So election and campaigns have shifted to more like a one-on-one with people, with Nigerians at this particular time. Okay, so you have people come and talk to you by word of mouth and try to convince you the need why you should belong to their political party and not belong to the one that you're in. And so Nigerians sometimes can be swayed by a lot of things. Okay, so maybe, for instance, they've been offered something, or maybe they've not been offered anything, but it's just word of mouth and the ability for somebody to convincingly, you know, get your attention and let you know that, okay, this is the person for you to vote for come the elections in February and in March as well. So it goes beyond just the campaigns and the fanfares and the jamborees that we see during mega campaigns and mega rallies. You know, these political parties have foot soldiers that are doing the underground work for them. And I'm sure that is what is happening in Ondo State, where you have that massive defection now to the All Progressives Congress. But again, just like the reports are saying, some quarters are saying that it is not true. It is just a few people that feel dissatisfied with the Labour Party that are moving. But whether it is a few people or not a few people, the point is people have left the Labour Party, and it's going to have an adverse effect on the Labour Party come the elections as well. So in politics, it's just like you know, a game of football. 1 minute can change the difference. 1 minute can make a lot of difference. So the same thing with politics. Just one vote can mean a lot. It can make you win the election or lose the election.
It's literally a game of numbers. So the numbers
are
also
a game of
important.
numbers. The numbers are important. So if you're losing one person, you should cry about it actually, and not say, oh, it's just one person.
And even what the effect on the optics for the party too is very intense. Because it's risky to think when you have so much fanfare, like the Labour Party is referred to, it's a movement. When you have so much fanfare around the presidential candidate, around the person, but it still looks like people find the opportunity to still find excuses not to go ahead with that. Now that's a problem with thinking people. When if you have someone who thinks through issues, this is going to be raising a lot of dust. But at the end of the day, it's important that we know that people are, you know, free to have different opinions. And just like the elder stateswoman has said in Ondo State, this might actually just be an in-party wrangling issue. You can't expect that all at once. At the same time, the entire structure of the Labour Party in Ondo State would have collapsed to the APC. There are going to be people who will fight tooth and nail against that. So, you know, it just depends on the divide of the report you want to take. But I believe very strongly, standing with the elder stateswoman's report, that is what happened. It's just a number of persons who, by reason of whatever they have been offered, what they hope to receive in terms of their political ambition, have decided to leave the Labour Party to the APC. But how much does this affect, you know, the race of the Labour Party in the presidential election? These are things we'll just keep our fingers crossed and hope that, you know, the party itself can find a way to navigate. But at this point, we'll just move to the news brief desk, where we have Mary Joseph on standby to bring us the news brief. And when we return, several conversations of things still happening in Nigeria we'll be bringing to you, so do stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to recover for the lapses taken to counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with President Muhammadu Buhari as he has said that his 8 years administration has significantly attained its repositioning plan for the Nigerian police force. Buhari said this on Monday in Abuja at the inauguration of critical operational assets procured by the Nigerian police force. He, however, said that the inauguration of the critical operational assets was part of the giant stride of his administration in advancing the police reform and the re-equipment agenda. Away from that, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has unveiled its role in the 2023 general elections toward ensuring the exercise is hitch-free. The Director General of the agency, Professor Fatima Waziri Azi, who disclosed this at a news conference in Abuja, said that Section 23 and 24 of the Violations Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 empowered the agency to monitor elections. Away from that, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has again asked Nigerians to ignore a social media hoax that the chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has agreed to election postponement over the currency crisis in the country. INEC said that the Presidential and National Assembly elections, which were slated for February 25th, and also the governorship and state elections, which were slated for March 11, will hold as scheduled. Moving to the foreign scene, where Syria's government has agreed to open 2 more border crossings to allow aid into the country devastated by last week's deadly earthquakes. The quakes in neighboring Turkey have also seen that about 40,000 million people were killed in 2 countries. In sports, Manchester City defeated Aston Villa with 3-1 at the Etihad Stadium to lessen the gap between them and the first position Arsenal. Rodri netted the first goal for the home side in the 4th minute, while Gundogan doubled their money in the 39th minute. Mahrez then scored from a spot kick to make it 3-4 City just before halftime. That's all on our news brief this morning. We'll bring you details of this and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Oyai on standby. Have a wonderful morning.
State and government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to recover for the lapses taken
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Welcome back. It's still Rise and Shine Daily. Of course, we just came off the news brief desk where we had Mary Joseph give us some global updates of things happening around the world. But before then, of course, we've had a couple of conversations. We touched on the pastor of House on the Rock Church Abuja branch that decided to wheel the gun to church and mounted the altar to preach to the people. Now, this has caused a lot of controversies around the country, but good enough, they've been detained by the police as well. And away from that, we also talked about what's happening in Ondo and the Southwest, particularly looking at the decamping of major stakeholders in the Labour Party to the All Progressives Congress. Serious troubles for the Labour Party moving up to the elections day now. But very quickly now, we'll be looking at what is on the front pages of our national dailies, and so we'll be taking Spotlight Dailies.
Welcome back. Of course, it's time for Daily Spotlight, and we'll be taking this day newspaper as our first national daily. And the very big story on the front page of this day says 11 days to presidential poll. All eyes on you. Buhari charges Nigeria police. INEC expresses concern about violent attacks on supporters of political parties. Says elections won't hold in 240 polling units. INEC declares. Commission finalizing issuance of 1,642,386,000 identification tag for agents. Despite South Supreme Court's ex parte order, old Naira notes lose legitimacy. Court rejects old banknotes for filing cases. Vested interest resisting currency redesign, says CBN MPC member. Maintains commercial banks mismanaging distribution process. Give order on recirculation of old notes, group urge Buhari. We also have here Sanwo-Olu meets Lagos business community, reassures stakeholders of state's commitment to growth. Another story that we have on the front page here says elections, Tinubu denies mopping up new Naira notes. That story can be found on page 11. Sultan, we need to douse tension. People are hungry and angry. Explains why farmer headers clashes persist in Benue. Conflicts claim 4,000 lives in 7 years. IDP president revealed. Okay, we also have here briefing the president on critical energy issues. That's on a picture story there. The Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission. Right there. We also have a story here for Atiku Abubakar, a campaign of some sort on the front page. And okay, that's all the stories that we have on the front page of this day newspaper.
Serious concerns, I must say. This particular one catches my attention, of course, more like what Nigerians are still facing and crying over. And I'm happy that we had this conversation yesterday, and the question was asked our guest, what happens when, you know, Nigerians, or what happens when the Central Bank of Nigeria refuses, you know, to still collect the old Naira notes. And we have it here that despite court's ex parte order, old notes still loses legality. We have that happening. And it was said that the Supreme Court is the highest, you know, court, and nobody's supposed to, you know, disregard the orders from the Supreme Court. But what happens now that the Central Bank of Nigeria is not given an order, you know, to commercial banks to still collect the old notes? It puts us in a very precarious situation. And just to worthy of note, Kano State government recently also, through the Consumer Protection Council, that was sometime during the weekend, decided to close down some supermarkets in the metropolis for refusing to accept old notes. So there's just this back and forth. We don't know where we are supposed to be at this point in time in terms of the old Naira notes and even the new Naira notes in circulation. Now people are crying. Yeah, people are crying that till now, and I had a call yesterday, somebody telling me that till now they don't even have access to the old Naira, to the new Naira notes, and now the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying that, look, let's end it. No more pushing of the deadlines and all of that. So I think that something more strategic needs to happen so that Nigerians can live their lives.
There's some form of deliberateness with, you know, the experience that Nigerians are having. It just looks like the system in the country is working against Nigerians, because I mean it's such a difficult place for you to put Nigerians. We are not seeing the new Naira. It's not even a fast. It's not there. So why are you also making it difficult for them to use the new Naira? You're making the country have no legal tender for exchange. At this time, we do not have a legal tender for exchange. The old Naira is not going, you know, it's not in circulation. The new Naira is not in circulation. What do you want people to do? People have lost money in the course of transactions.
Exactly.
Also. So there's a lot of difficulty at this time. And you know, just like you said, in keeping with some of the front, you know, page stories there, we are seeing tension continue to build. Nigerians are hungry, Nigerians are angry. It's both money, it's both fuel, it's everything. Life is really difficult at this time. And one would have just thought that the federal government would sway into the matter, you know, just like the court said, what will it really take for the old Naira and the new Naira to run concurrently? What exactly is the federal government hiding from Nigerians?
What was even the essence?
Undertone?
What's even the essence of the emergency Council of States meeting that was called? Why are we not even, you know, taking up some of the resolutions that were made in that particular meeting and run with it? But we are not. So what was the essence of the emergency meeting being called? So Emefiele seems to just assume some kind of powers. I don't know if constitutionally he has such powers to do that, or if he is also immune, you know, to some kind of punitive measures or something. Because he's acting out of impunity, if you ask me. Let's take our next paper, though. The Punch newspaper this morning. Of course, the big story on the Punch newspaper is banks, fuel stations reject old notes, ignores Supreme Court order. And the writer says Buhari and Emefiele meet again as old notes deposits hits over 2 trillion naira. POS operators, depositors panic, flood banking halls with old currency. Fuel marketers blame banks. Courts turn back lawyers with expired money. Moving forward now, we have that Buhari launches security equipment, warns police against politics. And we have Whitney, the story of Whitney of Chrisland School. Protesters besiege Chrisland as government orders inquests. We also have AK-47 bearing pastor arrested. Policeman faces probe. Church apologizes. Breach. Data Bureau probes 110 companies. And Atiku Rivers rally cancelled to prevent deaths, says PDP. Share love on Vows Day, not HIV, NACA. And then we have North will benefit greatly from Kolmani oil field, says Tinubu. Those are all the stories that we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Let's take our next paper.
We'll take our very next paper, and that will be Daily Sun. We'll take Daily Sun next. Looking at the front page of Daily Sun, the very big story there says INEC excludes 240 polling units from voting. Nigerians to cast votes in 176,600 polling units. Voters to get SMS to no polling units. Big story there. And then we have Rivers purchase of Kidney Island, OML 11 irreversible, court tells SPDC. Why we are training youth on cutting edge technology, Naseni. Page 28 is where you can find that particular story. Family of 5 die in Lagos Badagry Expressway auto crash. Court decides bail application of Ali Bello, 3 others today. Governor Bello's not defendant in matter. Court proceedings show. And that story is on page 5. Polls attacking non-indigenous orders in Lagos. Other states won't help APC, says Atiku. Stand up for your rights, resist intimidation, Ohaneze tells Igbo electorate. Page 29 is where you can find that story. We also have your OB meets OPC leaders. Others affirms commitments to restructuring. Page 26 is where you can find that story. Fanny Kayode to DSS, I goofed on coup allegation. Page 27. We also have here CSOs continue protests against EFCC chair in Lagos. Page 4 is where you can find that story. IGP accuses Oduduwa Nation agitators, IPOB, of election disruption plot. Page 5 is where you can find the story. Police to monitor transport unions and Mertekun Ebugwagu. Others. The last story here says insecurity. Elections will hold in Southeast. Others pledges CDS. That story can be found on page 26. But this story really bothers me because it undermines a lot of intelligence. Femi Fani Kayode to the DSS, I goofed on coup allegation. I mean, this story was making the rounds yesterday.
Of course, yes.
And the allegation by Femi Fani Kayode of some allegations of meeting you know, where he even mentioned, you know, some stakeholders in
some
the
military
country.
officers having a meeting, and a coup was being brewed somewhere. You know, these are the kinds of statements that we do not need. And we know that Femi Fani-Kayode is one person that is, would I say, loud-mouthed, you know, and for him to be coming out with this kind of comments and putting the country under some kind of tension. We know that for the longest of time, we had gone past that era where we have the military rule, and Nigeria has built its democracy to a point where we don't even see it coming anymore. But for him to begin to, you know, instigate those kinds of allegations, it was really terrible, and it was something that shouldn't have even come from him in the first place.
Yeah, a person of his repute, a former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
Not just saying it, but, you know, giving names and saying there was an actual meeting. So at what point are you coming out to say you goofed with that particular information? And this is a point where DSS takes him up, you know, really questions him. Why would you go? That's not an information to be toyed with. At a time like this, Nigeria is already tensed because of the things we are going through, and you are, you know, a spokesperson, a loud mouth for the APC, I would say, at this time, and you bring up such allegations and then want to retract it by saying you goofed.
You goofed, and then you apologizing.
He needs to be investigated. Yeah, that information needs to be investigated. He needs to be called in for questioning. This is a matter of, you know, when you stretch freedom of expression to the very limits that it should not be. That information can throw Nigeria into a fit. Already there's been speculations in the quarters of, oh, a President Muhammadu Buhari not wanting to, you know, give up. When you bring speculations like that, it can just, you know, further heat up the tension in the country. And that's not what anybody needs to have.
Exactly. You know, there was the story of an interim government being brewed somewhere. And of course, Nigerians expressed their dissatisfaction and their fears into even having an interim government, because at the end of the day, we might just have somebody that Nigerians did not democratically elect to become president. And we know and saw all of the, you know, reactions that brought about. But luckily enough, too, we had the president quickly, you know, constitute his what do you call it now, transition committee, you know, and the Secretary of State to the government was the chairperson of that transition committee. So that doused the fears of even having like an interim government. But Fani-Kayode coming out to say that there's some sort of coup brewing, and then him coming out again to say that he goofed. How can you goof with that kind of information? It was totally unnecessary, and like you said, I think the DSS should squeeze him more to get more information about where he got those infos from.
It shouldn't be let to slide at all.
Yes, definitely. It's gone more than just coming out to say I goofed. You did not goof. Give us more information. Give us more intels into how you came about that, you know. So let's take our very last paper. But of course, you can be a part of this conversation, please. The phone lines will be on your TV screen. You can join us, give us your opinion about any of the headlines that you have heard this morning. Serious concerns, I must say. The Nation newspaper is going to be our very last paper for this morning, and the big caption still boils down to the challenges Nigerians are facing at this moment, which is the Naira crisis. It says Naira crisis has brought hunger and anger, says Sultan. And the writer here says Monarch asks President to take action. Banks reject old notes, shorts out customers. And we also have that Tinubu vows to translate Kolmani all to prosperity. And then furthermore, we have a story here that says why polls won't hold in 240 units by INEC. And a story here says count on someone who can count. Okay, that's from the APC now. Vote wisely, vote bad. Okay. And looking forward, we have a story here that says Turkey, Syria earthquake, 37,000 dead and 90,000 injured. Gunmen born cuts. I think somewhere in Nigeria here. Okay, so those are some of the stories that we have. Yes, those are some of the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. I think the issue of the Naira crisis is one that the president and the presidency should look into again. I'm happy to see that the president has said that he's going to be meeting with Godwin Emefiele again. So whatever you know, comes out, whatever resolution comes out from that meeting, we hope that it will be that which will give Nigerians a lot more succor, because
don't you think we've had too many meetings already?
Too many
meetings back to back, but the solutions, you know, whatever the discussions are, doesn't seem to help Nigerians out in any way. It's not, you know, the information of meetings upon meetings, invitations of meetings. Yesterday, the CBN governor actually paid a visit to the president yesterday, and by the time he came out of that meeting from at the Asa Villa, he did not give any information to journalists, so we do not even know what was conversed. So it's not like there are no meetings going on between the president and Godwin Emefiele, the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. There are a lot of meetings, but these meetings, to what end exactly? It's such a difficult place for
I
Nigerians.
think initially the whole conversation was that, okay, let's see how we can try to, you know, curb vote buying. Let's see how we can also try to reduce ransom paying to bandits and terrorists. But I think that as it stands now, it is having more adverse effect on Nigerians. And when you find prominent people, you know, even coming out to say, look, this thing is biting, then I think that the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele and his team plus the presidency should go back to the drawing board, because initially we were of the opinion that, okay, the person that was crying the loudest was the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it was also used as a political gimmick from, you know, the opposition party, which is the People's Democratic Party, to say that those that are crying are those that actually intend to use the old Naira notes for, you know, vote buying. But as it stands now, the adverse effect it is having on Nigerians is very terrible. And when you begin to have a lot of more prominent people call on the government, you know, to begin to look into the matter and try to see how they can reverse it, or even bring up some kind of, you know, ways that we can ameliorate the sufferings of Nigeria, then I think that it is more severe than what, you know, the Central Bank of Nigeria was bargaining for, actually.
It's way more, because even when you say people go to buy the new Naira notes, for those that can find, sometimes you can't get more than 5,000, you can't get more than 10,000 or 20,000. Now, even when you get that, you think that you have maybe a small stash of the new Naira in your wallet. By the time you go out to make transactions, you're going to give out your new notes, but there's a mix-up of old notes and new notes as what you're getting as maybe change after a transaction. So what happens? You left home with new Naira notes, but there's no guarantee that all the transactions and all the changes you're going to get is going to be there. I think alternatively, Janice, if there is a problem with us having transactions with 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes, what suddenly happened to the 100 Naira notes?
Exactly. And all
Why
the 50
can't Nigerians be paid in 100 Naira notes? Let's know that the Central Bank of Nigeria has issue with this other denomination. Maybe they haven't, you know, printed enough. And let's know, okay, it's going to take them maybe 3 months to sort that out after they have, you know, taken, and also standing on the fact that we can't use 200, 500 or 1,000. Why not make 100 Naira notes circulate in the country? Let people be able to use it, so that we are not saying, okay, we are buying or doing anything with the 100 Naira notes. Let people be able to get to the banks and want to have a 50,000 Naira transaction, and you do it all in 100 Naira notes, and we see that, okay, what we now have as the highest denomination in the meantime to spend is 100,000 Naira, because it's 100 Naira notes rather. It's confusing how we suddenly do not have old Naira notes anywhere in the country. There's an economic explanation to this policy that does not balance even for an economically uneducated person. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Godwin Emefiele is also of the opinion that, you know, you can use alternative transfer methods, you know. So you go to the market, for example, was this Akpanande market, for example, to buy pepper, to buy crayfish or buy periwinkle, you're supposed to be using an alternative transaction method, which is a transfer. So you're asking the little child that is selling pepper by the roadside and you want to patronize that child, how do you do a transfer to that person? Do they have an account number that you can actually transfer to? So it makes the whole thing...
In a technologically unready nation.
Exactly. where you are also having issues of network failing you, you know, and all of that. So it doesn't just make sense.
It doesn't make sense because we don't even have that structure. I don't know if, you know, the transactions you've done have balanced up, but, you know, the transactions I've done in the past 2 weeks did not balance up. My account is now empty. You know, I had someone this morning, I just came up when I opened my phone this morning and saw someone also lamenting that all of his account was wiped. Every transaction he had, he received alert, but his account balance is empty, you know. So there's a lot of problem. You can't even tell us to depend on e-transactions when we do not have the modules, the system in place to help Nigerians. So whatever the fallacy, you know, the fads of thinking we have gotten to a particular place in Nigeria when we haven't, and so Nigerians should make do with that, it's not working. Come down to the current reality of the everyday Nigerian. How many people that are selling in the market have accounts, you know, and all of those things? Like we were having, it was Anilaji that was saying the other day, someone that comes and have market produce between 3,000 and 4,000 wants to sell all of that, take that 4,000 naira that they just made, go buy again and make just 500 naira on top. Is that the money that they're going to take to the bank? So we are unrealistic in our policies, we are unrealistic in our modules of implementation, and it's not working for Nigerians.
Definitely not working for Nigerians at all. We hope that at the end of the day, the federal government and the governor of Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, would put things in measures in place to make sure that they take away the suffering from Nigerians, because it is actually very severe at this point in time. But let's quickly look at a trending story in the country as we take a breather to bring you our focus conversation. Very quickly now on our trending story, of course, we remember that today is 14th of February and it's Valentine's Day celebration everywhere in the world. But there's something very, you know, I don't know how to put it, but there's something very funny about this particular Valentine's Day celebration in Nigeria. And it says that Nigeria tops Google searches for love in 2023. Nigeria tops Google search for love. That means
it's how you called me. You know, when you say 2023, you think that we are already in November, so we're given an analysis for the whole year. We are talking, this is just a couple of 1 month and 16 days and 14 days.
Yes,
you know.
Yes.
And already we are topping the chart
in the space of 2 weeks.
That is in 40 plus days. Yes. Nigeria has already topped, you know, Google search for love into, and I'm wondering, what are we looking for exactly? What are Nigerians looking
let's
for?
give perspective to this. It says yesterday, Google released an insight into the search trends of Nigerians ahead of Valentine's Day on Tuesday, which is today. And according to the data by Google, Nigeria is currently the top country searching for love in 2023, and since 2004 has been the country searching for the most for dating apps worldwide. In the past week, Google said the search for the origin of Valentine also increased by 200%. The data also shows that searches for Valentine messages for boyfriend had risen to 300% in the past week, and Valentine hairstyle also surged to 250% over the same period. Also, best dating app in the world rose by 250%, while Valentine's gift ideas for him in Nigeria and best Valentine's gift for girlfriend both increased by 120% in the past week. Now and again, the most interesting thing about this is also shows that there are also questions that Google has also said that is the most searched for. And the questions are like, is Valentine's Day for Muslim? When was Valentine's Day created? How to celebrate Valentine's Day in school? What to do on Valentine's Day with with the opposite sex? How did Valentine's Day come about? Is Valentine's Day worldwide? Who discovered Valentine's Day? How to wish your spouse or your partner happy Valentine's Day? What to get for your spouse or your partner on Valentine's Day in high school? How to survive Valentine's Day alone?
How to survive Valentine's Day alone is the real question there. You know, this is really funny. It's laughable.
Yeah, it is.
I'm serious. It's laughable. But it just shows you where the desires of man is. It shows you that every time, no matter what we face, no matter what we say, the desire to be companioned by another, to be loved by another, is highly increasing. So there is no way we can make excuses that people no longer want relationships. We can no longer, you know, there is a tendency for us to push that. There's also be a wave of I can do it all by myself being rising. So there is a tendency for you to think that people are no longer, you know, interested in relationships. But Google, the analysis by Google is showing us how much this is rising. And it's laughable in all sorts, but it's also something that makes us reflect to the reality of where the hearts of people are. You know, we also have people pushing against the odds to hustle, to make money. But in the midst of all of this, people are, they want to
still yearning for
love. Yes, they want to be affirmed by another human being, you know. And it's also funny, because we have conversations where we say that, oh, females always give wrong gifts to men. It don't, you know, put... don't wrap underpants and singlets for your significant other, and this time think intelligently about gifts that can be given. But we see that there is a 200% increase in the question by females, what can be given to men. So you're seeing that, you know, the female folk are putting in the effort to do beyond briefs and singlets. You know, so there's a lot of, you know, information right there. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, actually. It's hilarious.
You know.
And just to lean on, you know, some of the things you have said, in a society where breakups are becoming like a normal, and people do not even want to believe in marriages anymore. But we see that from this search, from this research now, is more like on the surface thing where people just react to, oh, I'm scared of getting into marriage. I don't believe in this love thingy anymore. But secretly and quietly, there are people searching for love. People just want to be loved. That's just the truth. You know, why are you looking at me like that?
No, you know, this thing you're saying is ringing a thought to my mind when, you know, like you have people who come out like on social media and have a particular, you know, front and energy. Some of them are like, no, I'm a feminist.
Yes,
you know,
I can take this.
And before you know it, in 5 months, 6 months, a year, you're a feminist, but this is your pre-wedding photo. Where did you match up? Where did
you know that it makes me even remember somebody like Linda Ikeji. I'm sorry, I have to mention names, but Linda Ikeji, you know, she came up with the whole idea of I am self-made. You know, nobody made me. I work for my money. I do this for myself. I do that for myself. And then all of a sudden, boom, we are seeing a baby bump without she necessarily getting married. You know, so people would definitely come up with such you know, presentations, and trust Nigerians to also react to it based on face value. And after that, they are into their shells trying to also get into that same place.
For themselves.
Get into that same place that you are saying, no, I won't take it.
But what do you think about the last question? I mean, how to spend Valentine's Day alone? That's an issue. And now that's also an issue that is going to drive some people into depression today. People are going to get depressed. People are going to take all kinds of unnecessary, unreasonable decisions as a result of, oh, nobody asked me to be vow, nobody
brought me flowers, nobody gave me chocolates.
And flowers are becoming a thing in Nigeria.
Of course, yes. Before, you can't give a lady flowers. She's like, what's that? I don't need flowers, you know? Yes, you know, I don't need flowers, monetize it. But these days, flowers are becoming a thing. Maybe more like we're becoming more liberal in nature.
Liberal of becoming more westernized.
Yeah, westernized, you know, and all of that. So how to spend Valentine alone? Just be on your own. Enjoy your company. Love upon yourself. It is very necessary. Self-love.
Netflix and binge.
Yes, just binge on something, you know. Get a popcorn. Get, someone was saying, what's that now? Parfait. Get parfait. Get ice cream. Just, you know, lick your singlehood. You're single, you didn't kill somebody.
When you cry and finish, just make sure you don't stand up and make any hasty decisions.
No, there's no need to cry. Come on. There's nothing as beautiful as self-love.
Some people are in a really difficult place, Johnny. Some people are in a really difficult place. Especially, I think I was having a conversation with someone. I said, the problem is with targeting when certain things should happen. So someone has targeted that February 14, 2023 will not make me single. It will not make me this. And it happens, and today comes, you are single all by yourself. There is a pressure that comes with. You're going to have a lot of people swooning and weeping out their eyes.
But let's not also forget, the things we can do, we do for ourselves. The things we cannot do, we leave it for the Almighty to do for us. Really? So there's no point killing yourself over anything.
Better just find a way to be happy today. Whether you are alone or not.
Look good, dress well.
Take pictures of yourself.
Exactly, you know.
It's all good. It's going to be all right. Just, you know, even saying that, it just makes me like the burden of people in this category just hit, and there's like a slight pain right there in my heart, but it's not that difficult. Everything will be all right.
Yeah.
And then let's also look at the fact that a lot of people are dealing with rejection.
Okay.
You know, and so those are parts of the things that are depressing in this moment. Some people might have been in a relationship that they thought, okay, their wedding was meant to happen in December, and somewhere by the end of last year, someone entered January, they just broke off 2 weeks ago. So people are in different spaces with this whole love thing. And sometimes people really need an encouragement to be able to go through it. But just keep your head up high. There is hope. If one door closes, literally another door will open, but just give it time.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's where we have to hang it there, and we'll take a short breather now. When we come back, we'll talk about more serious things. Of course, election violence is something that is very prevalent and peculiar with our politics in Nigeria. When we come back, we will be having that conversation. Don't go nowhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back soon.
As Nigeria prepares for the general elections holding from 25th February 2023, broadcasters are enjoined to make ethical reportage their watchword. All political programs shall observe the provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code and other extant laws relating to broadcasting. All broadcasting stations must adhere to the principles of pluralism and ensure equitable airtime to all political parties or views. All political programs shall adhere to the general principles of legality, decency, and truthfulness. For the avoidance of doubt, the broadcast of a political campaign, jingle, announcement, or any other form of partisan party identification or symbol ends not later than 24 hours before polling day. Hate speech is prohibited. Be professional. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer Management.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Conversation is what we are going into at this moment, and a lot of things happening as regards campaigns and politicking in Nigeria as we hit the ground running for the 2023 general elections. Now, one thing that has accompanied politicking in Nigeria has been election violence across the country, and this has a mitigating effect on the general elections. But joining us this morning to talk about election violence and how we can mitigate against some of these issues is Victor Anilaju, who is the CEO IPE and also presidential aspirant in the 2023 elections under the People's Democratic Party. Good morning and thank you for joining us, Anilaju.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me on your show this morning.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I think we are going to look at the best place for us to begin this conversation is that we have what we call the Nigeria's National Peace Committee, and this is, you know, a collaboration or what do you call it now? Put together by different heads of state and other stakeholders to make sure that we try to mitigate against issues like election violence and the rest. But it seems that these kinds of, you know, committee does not really have any effect, and these kinds of peace signing treaties do not have any effect on the elections or politicking or even campaigns in Nigeria. Let's just take our minds back to, you know, the Labour Party campaign that happened in the Tafawa Balewa Square on Saturday, where the Labour Party, you know, supporters were attacked by hoodlums. Now, where does this put us, you know, as regards to the 2023 elections?
Well, what I would say is that Nigerians as of today should be prepared for anything. Can I use the word they should be prepared for the worst?
Anything
because,
is fine.
Yeah, because we have not even started voting. We're already seeing hoodlums, thugs from the APC-led administration attacking other political parties. And someone will say, why are you attacking APC? I'm not attacking APC, I'm saying the obvious. APC have done their campaign in Lagos State. Nobody's tire was punctured. What now happened when another political party came to Lagos State to do their campaign, and they start beating up supporters, destroying their vehicle, you know, destroying their windscreen, injuring them, you know, seizing their speakers, their public address system, and you want to tell me that it's not APC? The only thing I would say is that Nigerians are ready. At this time, we are all ready. And I would say to every Nigerian, just make sure you do everything you want to do within your community from on the 20th till after they announce the winner of the election. Because I don't think anybody will want to fold their hand and just see somebody just attack them. Everybody should be prepared. Anyway, you prepared to defend yourself. That's one thing I would advise Nigerians. Be prepared to defend yourself in the polling unit, in your street, your community, and be prepared to defend.
Okay, network just took him off there. Well, preparation now that like mentally and I think
defend your vote. The Constitution allows us to defend ourselves, defend our family, and defend our rights.
When you say the Constitution allows us to defend ourselves, what exactly are you saying? How do we defend ourselves?
In keeping with the Constitution.
In keeping with the Constitution.
Yes, the Constitution allows you to defend it. There's what we call self-defense. If you are being attacked, you can strike back. You should be prepared. You should be ready to defend yourself. In this season of election, in this time of transition, we know that there's going to be violence.
Okay, let me just hold you. Let me just hold you in on that first. Now you're accusing the All Progressives Congress for instigating some of the violences across the country. Now we have here that even in Zamfara State, PDP is accusing the APC thugs of attacking its campaign rally. And we also saw, I think, in one other northern state where the president was also thrown clubs and stones at, you know, the president is of the APC. You know, they went to campaign, I think it was in Kano State. Yes, in Kano State now, where you had people come out throwing stones and clubs at the helicopter of the president. So it's not as if when we talk about campaign violence or election violence, we are looking at just one political party. It is not just one political party suffering from this. All political parties have, you know, in one way or the other, you know, suffered some kinds of attack from other political parties.
When it comes to attack, every attack is being instigated. Somebody, there is a cause for an attack. What you saw, you know, people attacking the helicopter of the president. It's they are expressing their dissatisfaction. It's just like a community that be having challenges. You as the president, you have not come to visit us. In the time of campaign, you are not showing out to visit us. And we are facing hunger, we are facing insecurity, and you are our president. The president by now should not even join Bola Ahmed Asiwaju in his campaign. The president should remain neutral. At this stage, the president should remain neutral, right? But when you now see a president going to support a candidate that you know that they are masterminders of violence, whatever happens to the president at that time is at the president's risk. Whatever you saw happening against PDP, that just as the PDP had said, it was instigated by APC. Why did they not say it was instigated by Labour Party? We are not children in this country. We say it the way it is. Unless people want us to come on air and start painting the issue. Every violence that you see right now, we are going to agree 90% it's because of how APC have led this country. If APC have led this country well, the
network is, you know, getting in the way right there, but we do hope that we can have a smooth conversation.
So if APC have led this country well, if the APC government have led this country well, we will not be talking about violence as of today. Right, because the reaction of the people right now, let me tell you the truth. I'm in Lagos. Lagos is the heart of APC. I could tell you that 80% of the voters in Lagos, they are angry with APC. So that is and they are going into the polling units with anger. Number one, they don't have access to money. In Lagos is nowhere. If you don't have money in Lagos, you'll be stranded. Right. Number two, they don't have access to fuel. Number three, there is no lights. Number four, there is no job. And you think these people will go to the polling units with calmness. And let me take you back to the last election. In Lagos State, some particular area where the Igbos stay, they were massive thug attacking them. And you think this election, the Igbos will not keep quiet? No, nobody is going to be calm. Everybody is going to be prepared coming out to the polling units. I will not be surprised seeing people coming to the polling units with different kind of protective machine to protect themselves.
Okay, so
let's. And I don't think that is out of place. Because
no, I think it's out of place, Anilaju. I seriously think it's out of place because election is not a war front where we go, and that's why they even say that we should have less of security, you know, agents around polling units, so it doesn't create an atmosphere of tension. So I don't think that it is fair for Nigerians to trunk to the polling units, you know, wielding one weapon or the other. It's not. We are not going to a war front. We are going to.
Let me explain to you.
Yes.
Let me explain to you. You saw what happened when Labour Party did their presidential rally in Lagos.
Yes, we saw what happened.
You saw how Trump destroyed people's vehicles. Do you know how much for a car now? One of those cars is nothing less than 3 million naira. Now you think the owners of those vehicles, they are going to go to the polling units without arming themselves?
So what is the essence of having security agents around the polling units if we cannot confide and trust that they can protect us?
The question you ask yourself is that why is it that the security agency could not secure or help the people that was attacked during the campaign. We are in Lagos. Me, I'm speaking of Lagos. I'm telling you, the way the APC government organized the election in Lagos is to use thugs to snatch ballot boxes. I'm not instigating violence. I'm only telling you the reality. We have seen it before, where people after voting, some thugs came, took the ballot box, and as went with it.
But in
So
this
I'm not
particular
saying
elections, if looking at snatching away of ballot boxes, we have technological advantage on our side, that hopefully that will not work to the advantage of any political party at this time. I mean, when you steal the ballot boxes, we already have voters machine. Yeah, having been accredited by the Beavers machine and all of that, and we do hope that another system we are hoping that really works is the immediate uploading of results as it comes in, so that we know that everything is stored up in the cloud. So let me
tell you something.
All right.
So let me tell you something. What your BVAPs is going to do is just to clear you to vote.
Of course.
Yes. Your BVAPs is not going to capture numbers of voter. Do you understand? So because you have a situation where, but let's say, for example, 2,000 people have been cleared to vote. 1,005 people actually voted. Now, after you have been cleared, after we have voted, before we start counting to know the winner, so a talk can come and carry the ballot box and has come with it. BVAS will not record that votes. And in most cases, the APC-led government will always attack areas that they know that their opponent is going to gather more votes. I'm saying this, and I'm not just saying it because I feel like saying it. We are looking at antecedent history, especially in Lagos. There's a particular area in Lagos that there is constant attack, and it's always the area where they have more opposition.
So now, if we have a history of this kind of activities in that particular area of Lagos, what would you say in terms of proactiveness that security agencies are doing, towards the forthcoming elections, and even INEC? One would think that since, INEC has consistently had a report of violence in these areas, and usually would affect the turnout of votes there, has there been any proactive measures, so to speak, to ensure that we do not have a repeat of that in this coming election?
Let me tell you the truth. And INEC, they have not been able to secure their INEC office. Just instantly. INEC offices should have CCTV camera. But as we speak, there are very few INEC offices. Number two, how many security officers do we have? How many? If you put all the armies, everybody together, they are not up to a million, and you want to secure over 40 million voters. How are you going to do it?
Okay, so let's go to the south.
Security happen in Lagos, where hoodlums will bypass votes. See, don't wait for security agencies to secure your vote for you.
It's proactive in having a defense mechanism. So you were saying something before you got caught up. So I'm asking, how would Nigerians secure their votes? Because I mean, part of what we do is educating the masses.
Of course, yes.
So if you say we should secure our votes as Nigerians, please, how can Nigerians do that? We need that particular education.
Content. Then number two, we should be able to put some persons at the entrance of the polling units. We hold your phone, make sure your phone is charged, do videos if you see people coming unnecessarily. Then if you have licensed weapon to protect yourself, please.
We're already handling someone.
Practice comment on him saying that Nigerians should come out protecting themselves with any kind of, Okay,
so
Madam, that's not what I said. What I said is that if you had there is nothing stopping you from to come out with it.
And imagine if all licensed problem breaks out at a polling unit.
So everybody brings out their weapons.
It will only be those licensed people defending themselves. You know that from defending yourself, it can turn out into a mass issue at that particular location.
Madam, let me say this to us. It's like I know we are all on air. We're educating Nigerians. But I don't want a situation whereby the struggle of Nigerians. A lot of people have died. A lot of people have laid their life. A lot of people have spent their hard-earned money to make sure that we register so that we can vote. I don't want to now stay here and now tell the people, after they have suffered all of that, to now watch one hoodlums, one tout to come and snatch their ballot box. My dear, if anybody is coming to your polling unit to carry your ballot box,
advice to use phones, to video polling units where. So why wield a weapon just because you want to protect your vote and put your life at risk or in harm's way?
And this
what's the essence? We are looking at election violence. That election violence we'll be having in the general elections, and we are saying that.
Because when we are talking defense in the face of, if someone is trying to toy with your vote, at the end of the day, let's be realistic. We might be looking at the loss of life here.
Exactly.
Can we really say that losing life is commensurate to any kind of election in this country?
Do you know that about 3 million Nigerians die every day because, and the causes of those deaths is related to hunger, that have led to disease, that have led to sickness, that have led to suicide, that have led to heartbreak, that have led to depression? Do you even know that? Do you even know what this election means? This election stands to be an election of life and death. If we lose this election, we have lost our lives. We have lost our freedom. We have lost our commitment to build a new Nigeria. So we have said to ourselves, we will do everything within the Constitution to make sure that we win this election. And don't forget, the opposition, they themselves have told themselves, see, man, let's be sincere. There's a video going on right now where the candidate of the All Progressive Party, APC, right, All Progressive Congress, was telling his followers, his supporters, that they should do everything to win their polling units. That if they need to snatch ballot boxes, they should snatch power out of the hands of people.
They did not categorically say if you need to snatch ballot boxes. No,
I
think I have seen that video as well. I think I have seen that video as well.
He said they should snatch power from them. He said power need to be snatched. Madam, I understand that you are a media person. You need to remain neutral. But for us as citizens, who these things affect?
A matter of neutrality here. It's a matter of bringing the facts to the table. Okay, so if you're saying that they said snatch ballot boxes, I totally disagree. It wasn't part of what was said. They said they would take power, make sure that they win the election in any way they choose to win the election.
The word they should take power. They should take the power by force. That power is not given to them.
Okay, take the power by force. Okay. That's what I am saying. Not saying snatch ballot boxes.
Madam, we are not ready to defend whoever he is going to send to come and take the power from us. Come out on that day and go and cast our votes. Then one small town will not come with one gun. Will not shoot the gun.
Now, is that even a peaceful way of conducting the elections?
Now, Anilaji is coming from the part that let's not sit on the fence with regards to our expectations towards the elections. Anilaji, let's leave the whole APC conversation and look into something else that is biting on the table. We've had across our national dailies this morning, CSP is giving hope that elections will hold without violence in the Southeast. And we've also had, several other, agitators in the Southeast saying elections will not hold. Now, let's look at election-related violence in the Southeast. What are your thoughts and what are our hopes, concerning the elections from the Southeast?
Now, let me just add something to what you have said, please. Now, I know that IPOB has always, brought about the sit-at-home order thing, which has, brought some kinds of insecurity issues in the Southeast. But recently also, they came out if IPOB is going to bring up an offspring somehow, during the elections. So it also speaks of violence.
So let me tell you one simple truth. The APC-led administration will want to make sure that election in the Southeast is not done properly. they have already started sending machinery to the east to truncate the votes, because they know that their greatest oppositions are going to come from the southeast. No southeasterner, as of today, will want to attack their people from non-voting. In fact, there is a massive grassroots campaign going on in the east right now as we speak to make sure that their people come out en masse to vote. But I will still say to my southeasterners, brothers and sisters, prepare to defend your votes, because your oppositions are going to come and use the yardstick of IPOB and the rest to destroy, cause violence during the election. The violence that we're seeing, the electoral violence that we're seeing going on in the southeast is not masterminded by the southeasterners. These are machinery that have been sent, especially from the southwest, to make sure that they silence the voice of the southeast. Now, whether people would like to hear this or not, that remains their own business. I stay in Lagos, right? I have my origin from the east. We know how we fought to get our voters card here in Lagos, right? When we're doing our registration, there were times where the areas in Lagos where you have more southeasterners, they were being deprived from doing their registration. They have to fight. They have to fight. I'm giving you that information. Go and do your research. You will see it. They have to fight to make sure that they allow them to vote, to do their voters registration. When the PVC collection started, right, we still have to fight again to make sure our PVC is given to us. And even as
okay, now obviously network is on the way, but a very pertinent question I would like to ask, because Anilaju does
even
not.
As you speak right now, there are still some areas in Lagos where that is made up of more of the southeasterners that they've not gotten their PVC. They have drew the attention of INEC chairman of Lagos State. In fact, as you speak right now, there's even a campaign that the INEC chairman of Lagos State, Mr. Agbaje, should be dropped, because he has instigated electoral violence against the Easterners.
Okay, very quickly now, let me ask you this question as we wrap up the conversation. Let me just say this as we wrap up the conversation. Our time is gone. So with all that you have said and put forward this morning, you think that there's not going to be a peaceful elections in Nigeria?
I pray so, but I still doubt so. I pray we have a peaceful election. If APC-led government, they are willing, if they are humble, they are willing to lose.
Are you attacking APC because you're of the PDP?
No, it's not at all. Not. I've not even declared my candidate that I'm going to vote for. I'm just telling you from antecedents what we saw in 2019, right? The APC don't have supporters. The only thing they do is to scare the supporters of their opponents.
Okay.
It's something that has been happening, and Lagos is the heart of APC, and I can tell you what happens here in Lagos. There are locations in Lagos that we already know that we need to go there and defend our brothers and sisters in those areas.
All right, thank you very much.
If it was peaceful, I will come here and tell Nigerians it's going to go on. It's going to be a peaceful election. But I pray it's a peaceful election, but I doubt the competency of APC to make it a peaceful election.
All right,
so
thank
everything
you very
rises
much,
and falls
Victor
on APC.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
your time this morning. Obviously, we look forward to. It's always a great conversation with you, I must say, and you're one person that would say it's the way it is. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. God bless us. We pray that we have a peaceful election, but don't forget, when you're going out, be ready to defend your vote. Because your vote is your life. Your life, it's what makes Nigeria what it is today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anilaji, for coming.
But I'll still maintain the fact that election is not a war front. Election is supposed to be conducted peacefully.
Yeah,
to choose
typically
the leaders.
it's not a war front.
It's not a war front.
When you're looking at current day realities, you know, that is what Nigeria has made elections. So we are saying, in the face of the current day reality, how do we go about, you know, these elections? Now, Anilaju is saying, be ready to defend your vote within the confines of the Constitution, which means arming the media with requisite information of things happening around your polling unit, providing information, to security agencies where something is going wrong.
And
These
let the
are
information even be genuine and not fake information.
Not
because
trying
we
to
know that
instigate parties against
during
one
the
another.
election, there's just a lot of fake information on the internet and being spreaded all around. So let's be certain.
But it's literally a matter of, if you see something during the election, say something to the necessary authorities. That is one way we can defend, our votes. It's not about going out to carry clubs or carrying things and all the like. But we need to do what we must do to make sure that the transition that we are looking at, Nigerians get the government that they want in place.
Yes, definitely. And that's how we wrap things up on this end. Thank you so much for being a part. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow for another edition of Rise and Shine Daily. My name is Janice Kobum. Do have a great day.
My name is Yannick, and thanks for being a part of the show. Thank you to everyone who gave us a successful production today, and all our viewers. Thank you so much. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow. Happy Val's Day.
As Nigeria prepares for the general elections holding from 25th February 2023, broadcasters are enjoined to make ethical reportage their watchword. All political programs shall observe the provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code and other extant laws relating to broadcasting. All broadcasting stations must adhere to the principles of pluralism and ensure equitable airtime to all political parties or views. All political programs shall adhere to the general principles of legality, decency, and truthfulness. For the avoidance of doubt, the broadcast of a political campaign, jingle, announcement, or any other form of partisan party identification or symbol ends not later than 24 hours before polling day. Hate speech is prohibited. Be professional. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer.